All right, we are here with Tony Mecca, who's an animation director, and just want to introduce everyone here. I'm Jesse Draper. I'm art director. Art director and inside of AnimSchool, art instructor, and we have Manuel Bover as well. Tony, can you tell us a little bit about your career and kind of what you do in the industry and kind of what you do at AnimSchool?
Yeah, so I've been a teacher at AnimSchool for just think like eight years now, going on 9 years. But yeah, I started actually in video games. So worked for 5.5 years in video games. One of the first games I worked on was the original BioShock, America's Army, Conduit, Family Guy. So I got to work with the Family Guy animators of the show, and then transitioned into feature film. So I worked on a ton of movies. I was in the unique kind of position where I worked on everything from really realistic visual effects and creature and monster work. So like Snow White and the Huntsman, which got Academy Award nomination, X-Men Days of Future Past, Fast and Furious, and then also on the very opposite end of the spectrum for things like Rio, Epic, and Hotel Transylvania. So you can't really get any more opposite than like,
wow.
Yeah. In the same year, I did Fast and Furious 7, and Hotel Transylvania 2. So we're talking like complete opposites. And then kind of bounced around the industry a little bit and settled. I've been 7.5 years. I've been at Universal Creative. So we are the division that designs all the rides and attractions and lands for Universal parks around the world. Working for Universal, we own Illumination and we own DreamWorks. So I get to work with those folks a ton. And, again, kind of same thing. We have IPs all the way from like Minions to Jurassic Park, so we work with ILM, DNEG, Framestore, Digital Domain, all the big players in the VFX industry. And at AnimSchool, I teach one of the final classes, Animated Appeal and Entertainment, where it's you kind of just have one shot. It's like your demo reel shot. And that's really what we work on. And then I also teach the other course that I created, the Monsters and Creatures VFX course, which we actually work with like real plates and custom rigs just for AnimSchool. And so far the class has been very successful. We had a lot of placement in it. What's interesting about the class too is we've also had folks that were currently in the industry animating on movies, but they wanted to go from like a junior to a mid or a mid to a senior, and so they would actually take the class to up their skills even higher, which is great. So
well, that's something really cool I want to comment on. One, that's just an incredible Rolodex career. I have to say, I'm still my mind is still a little bit blown from playing the first BioShock. It's just incredible game, and I hope that IP continues because I love that series.
It is.
It's amazing. Yeah, do you know anything about that? Like, kind of what they're doing right now?
I know it's announced. I play video games almost every night with people working on it, but that's all I can say.
That's very cool. Yeah. Well, so those of you who are just getting introduced to AnimSchool, we are kind of like a trade school, but for animation, 3D animation, and 3D modeling and rigging. And we have basically an 18-month, 2-year program. We have, even if you've never done any 3D modeling, 3D animation, that's okay. We can start you at the very beginning. But what's really interesting about AnimSchool and those more advanced classes that Tony and Manuel teach, we actually, like you said, we'll have pro animators come in just to get their skills leveled up, especially for Tony's class, the creature class. Like, it is really cool. So if you just want to take one class, you can audit just one class, or you can go through the whole thing. Manuel, could you introduce yourself and kind of some of the projects you've worked on and what you do at AnimSchool?
I don't remember.
I know you did Hotel Transylvania. I know that's
yeah, I worked on the first one. Tony, you were on the second one then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I met Tony a long time, 15 years ago. Tony.
Yeah, up in Vancouver. Yep.
It's crazy. Yeah. No, back at Rhythm and Hughes, man.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Pre Vancouver at Rhythm. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm from Spain. You can probably tell by my accent. I work at Framestore. I went to London first, and then I went to the States. I started working at Rhythm and Hughes with Tony back in the day. After that, I went to Sony for like 3.5 years, I think. I worked on the first Hotel T and a bunch of other projects. Then I went to Animalogic in Australia. And after that, I went to Vancouver. And then I became the head of animation at AnimSchool back in 2016, I think. I've been doing, that, and then just working like from, like freelance, same thing, like just from home, in the same projects for Japanese companies, and basically feature film. I also do work on video games, so it's just like basically everything, but especially like feature film. Till now.
That's awesome. Well, we have a really fun, kind of unique opportunity today, which is to give you a taste of what it's like to be in Anim School. I think we can all agree everybody can learn anything on their own. We're in we're like the age of like YouTube, and like all of this knowledge is available to us. You can definitely like go and learn a lot of these skills on your own. However, as someone who's gone and got my own art education, something that I appreciate so much about Anim School is the access to working pros. When I went to a brick and mortar school, my professors, some of them had been out of the industry for 6 or 7 years. And Tony or Manuel, how much do things change in 6 or 7 years in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I remember because I went to a traditional brick and mortar school, and my 2D animation instructor was the animation director of Tiny Toon Adventures and Animaniacs.
Oh, wow.
And then he got kicked out because the school got accredited and they needed to bring in someone with a master's degree. So they brought in someone that never worked a day in the industry, just went to animation school, then couldn't get it in the industry, then went to more animation school for master's, and then is now teaching us. So I think what's so great about the school is it's like, you have to literally be working in the industry, knowing that, a lot of times the instructors will like get on camera and be like, man, you won't believe the day I had on this movie that comes out in 2 years, so, like the students get exposed to like the 24-hour up to date, what's happening in the industry, like that day, which is really powerful.
What's crazy too is I always thought, well, how can we have an online, how can you have an online school experience? I know we're like post-COVID, so I think everybody had that experience. I think before COVID came out, it was really a kind of a tough concept of, hey, how could I make friends and network if I'm not meeting people in person? And I've never met you, Tony, in person. I've never met you and Matt. I haven't met Manuel in person, but I do consider you guys my friends. And I have met people that I've been speaking to for 5 years over Zoom. And then when we see each other in person, it's like my brain is not evolved enough to know that I haven't met you before. And so you can make real relationships at the school, real networking opportunities. We care so much about each other because it is such a small industry, and we're going to tell you how it is. That's really the benefit of learning from people like Manuel and Tony, is they're not going to sugarcoat it. This really is like, hey, it's not a hobby school. It's like, how can we get you ready so that you can work with me, right, in the industry, right? When you say that, Tony, like you're trying to get people to go like, if I was to have you come work for me, what would I want you to know? I don't know if you could to maybe some experiences you've had like that.
Well, I mean, like what I tell my animating and appeal class, seeing as that's like the final classes, I say, I'm not here to give grades. Like nobody cares about your grades. All right. If you want an A, I'll give you an A right now. I feel like you're doing this because your parents want you to do this. I'll be like, fine, I'll give you an A. Bye. It's like, we're here to get you hired in the industry. That is the goal, right? If you're hired, that's awesome. And I've even had students that got halfway through their assignment and it was so good they applied, even as a work in progress, and got an internship or got a job. And we were able to say, you know what? They didn't finish their assignment, which is considered an F, but hey, they got placed in the industry, A. We gave them the A because it's like that's the ultimate goal, right?
Absolutely. And grades are super important to us at AnimSchool in terms of being an accredited school, but that's mostly just as a level of like a place for us to know, like, hey, before you proceed to like Tony's level class, we just want to make sure that you're prepared. We're not just trying to push people through to get them a certificate. We really want to make sure that you have those fundamentals down so that we're not like kind of leaving you to the wolves. When I got my BFA, I felt a little bit like, oh shoot, I don't even know what my skill set is. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. And what I've heard from other brick and mortar animation schools is they actually recommend AnimSchool as a finishing school, as a school like, hey, you got a really good broad general education, but what are you going to do now? Is your reel ready? So we're really like hyper focused on getting you the reel that you need. And so that's kind of what we're going to experiment today, is just give you a taste of what it's like to get reviewed. We've had several submissions, and I'm sorry we won't be able to get to all of them, But Tony has some up, and Manuel and Tony are just going to kind of, we're going to put them up on the screen and you'll get a taste of kind of what like a review is. One of the awesome things about AnimSchool is that we are a live classroom school. So we have 11-week terms. You have a critique day and you have a demo day. So Tony or Manuel would be showing you the ropes. You'd have assignments and you would submit them once a week and you get a live review that's recorded. This is what boggles my mind. I was sitting in classes where my instructor would be drawing in Photoshop. I'd be, across the room trying to see what buttons he was pushing on a screen. Even when I had good vision, I need glasses now, but I was like, what the heck are they doing? So when Tony or Manuel is doing something in Maya and they're pushing buttons, once they upload the recording, you get to watch as your shot is getting reviewed, getting drawn over, and you can rewind it, watch it over and over again. It's amazing. But on top of that, I think if you go on Reddit and say, hey, why should I go to AnimSchool? You'll see time after time people say, go to AnimSchool because of the general reviews. So not only do you have access to pros like Tony and Manuel, you have every single day there's a pro animator that's willing to give your shot a second look. So if you're not necessarily understanding something, you need some additional polish, you get another pro on your shot. So we're just trying to make sure that you're having more of a kind of, it's not exactly like a studio, but you're getting that kind of like dailies kind of experience. I was wondering if Manuel, you could kind of talk about that. What's the benefit, do you think, of like the general reviews that we offer for a student?
Well, it's basically what you were saying, just like it's having constant feedback. Like as a student, like it's hard to like progress if you don't have a tiny bit of like hand holding at the beginning, and especially like to push the quality, like what Tony was mentioning before. If you want to work in this industry, your quality needs to be top notch. If not, it's not gonna happen. So I mean that's why we have so many general reviews, so like you can get constant feedback, apply to your shot. Because like it's great that you have two sessions a week, but that's not enough for a student. You just need more, more interaction with instructors. So that's the main point. That's the goal. Like improve your shot and like try to have a reel so you're able to like find a job after graduating.
That's awesome. Cool. So I don't know if you're able to, Tony. Oh, yeah. You want to comment on the like general views? Like how does that help your students though too? Because like you'll be showing a student something. How do you feel like a general review benefits them?
I think what's interesting is so much of when you get into the industry and you're dealing with like major movies, like major blockbusters from Hollywood, you have to keep in mind that it is it's the director's movie and the producer's movie, and there's a lot of conflicting notes that you always get because everything is subjective, right? So what's really nice about the general reviews is sometimes students will come back to me and say, hey, the general review instructor, which we all have probably worked with, in the past, because we're, like Jesse mentioned before, we're all a very, very small industry. They'll come back and they'll be like, hey, they suggested maybe we do something like this. And you're like, oh, that is a really good idea. Or sometimes they'll come back with something that's destructive. And you're just like, I don't think we should do that right now because that's going to mess X, Y, and Z up. And here's why. But let's take this idea and push it further. And it's this kind of really nice synergy. And it also gets the students used to what the reality is going to be, especially in VFX, where you're going to get a note on Monday. And then you're going to be told on Thursday, completely change it to do something else, right? Because that's exactly what happens in that particular industry when you're working on the Marvel movies or things like that. So it's so nice to get fresh eyes on even shots that as an instructor you were looking at for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and someone can just look at it and once they be, oh, that looked off there, and you get another opinion. And most of the time we will take what the general review instructor says and massage it into place of the history that we had with the shot. So it's really nice to get multiple instructors kind of working together to kind of, synergize these. And really just like as the school, just look at the school show reel. I mean, that's really all you have to do. Like the proof is in the pudding, right? The biggest advice that, we can give in the industry is the industry does not invest in training people. Right. Some smaller studios do, but if you want to make it into, the big ones, some of them do internships, some of them do apprenticeships, not as much as they did before. Right. They need you to hit the ground running. And so what we tell students, if they say, am I ready to go into the industry? Say, well, did you create animation that looks like it can go into that movie? You're right. And that's it. And if you look at the reels of the schools or brick and mortars, right, just compare it to the AnimSchool reels. And I think that's all you need. And that's what speaks for itself, which is awesome.
And that's really the goal of AnimSchool, is to get you leveled up so that you have a reel you can show to recruiters that can stand out. It's exactly what Tony said. We stand by the work of our students. Every summer we release a new showcase. They're super, super fun. What's been also really cool, as you can see, is we've actually cut some of these shots from the showcase down. I think we have a reel right now that has, like, on YouTube Shorts right now is like 16 million views. So these, like, if you work really hard at AnimSchool and you get a good shot, 100% we have students that get hired from our showcase, just from that. Like, recruiters look at the showcase and hire from that. So super, super cool. Tony, were you able to find a shot you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's so a lot of what we do too, especially when you apply to the school, is you get a well, let me make sure I share this right. You know, we will review the reel and be like, what do you need to work on? What do you need? You know, what class can we potentially place you in? And I even do that in my final class. Is I say, before we start on a shot that you're going to select to do for your final shot, I need to see where you're at. Show me your reel that you've come through from this point, you know, so we can really, really, really help with that. So this was a reel submitted to us. So I'm just going to watch it with Manuel and Jesse here for the first time. We can all watch it together, and then we'll just give some quick thoughts overall on what we did. So this is from Fedi Garcia. So it's a few minutes long. Let's take a look.
Oh, real quick, is there sound on this one?
Yeah, there is.
Maybe unshare and reshare with sound. I don't know if we can get that to go, but
stop sharing. Let's see.
Yeah, that's looking really cool already, though.
Screen. Let's see. There's no setting.
Let's see. So when you share a screen, there's a little say also share tab audio when you should go to share everything.
I don't get that. Let's try it again. Right. Present, share screen.
Down. If you
and there it is. Use Chrome if you'd like to share audio with your screen. So there it is.
Well, thanks for the patience, guys. Just want to.
There we go.
Yep. It's cool to see these with sound. So we're gonna
we want to make sure that, and this is a cool software they're doing. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
There we go. Use Chrome. That was the pop-up that showed up. So, all right. Now we'll allow that. Okay.
All right,
let's see if this works.
Here we go.
All right. Give me a thumbs up if you hear audio.
No, is that audio?
Yeah. Is it audio or no?
I didn't hear any audio, but
okay.
That's okay. If we need to review it, it's okay.
Okay. Yep. We'll just review. There's just kind of music going on here, so cool.
I have heard some recruiters turn the sound off anyway to just look at the animation.
I always turn sound off.
Yeah, same here. I don't.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm going to give everyone a little demo of how, because a lot of the times a recruiter will look at the reel first and then they'll send it to the animation department. Okay. And most of the time the animation department does it over lunch, after work, in our free time. So I'm going to give you a little example of if someone sent me a reel that says, hey, should we bring this person in for an interview? How we actually review reels like this. We'll go, okay, cool. Got the name, scrub. Let's see this. Okay, cool. Let's come over here. Got some, okay. Oh, we got some mechanics over here. Okay, do they have any dialogue? Was this a dialogue? Oh, it was a dialogue. Okay, let me turn audio on. Okay. all right, cool. Let's and then you make your decision. That is like, I'm not kidding. That is how fast it goes. So when everyone's like, I'm gonna put beautiful music, I'm gonna put all this stuff on the reel, I'm gonna like, don't worry about it, right? Best stuff first. Tailor your reel to the studio you're applying to. You know, so when I was in the industry on, you know, like client side working for the studios, I would have a VFX reel, a game reel, a ImageWorks reel for Sony style, a Blue Sky reel, a Disney reel, a, you know, Framestore reel, an ILM reel, you know, and it would be the same shots, just in a different order. But in terms of this reel here, what is nice about it is I think we have the content that we need of, like, you know, pantomime, some body mechanic stuff, you know, some cycles that you would for, you know, like games. This is the type of stuff we're in AnimSchool. If we're going to do any type of like acting, we try to give context to everything, right? So it's at the point right now where the industry is not looking for animators to just make a bunch of different expressions, right? Or have someone look in the mirror, right? It's like, what is this character saying? What is he thinking? What is he doing? And right now, to me, it just seems like someone's kind of angry, and then they're kind of surprised, and then, you know, like, it just seems like an exercise in posing the face and not an actual acting shot, right? Because remember, you're an actor, right? You're not an animator. Okay, animators are a dime a dozen. Animation in itself is going to get replaced by AI really quick. Okay, if not already. You're not training to be an animator. Okay, you're training to be a storyteller and an actor, and that's what the studios want to see, is bring your life experiences and your unique storytelling ability into your shots. Those are the reels that take it to the top, you know. So what's great about this reel is there's a foundational understanding of obviously it looks like Maya and things like that, but this would be the level of reel that I would have, probably not even this good looking, coming out of a brick and mortar school. Right. Is it hireable at a major studio at this point? No. Is it something, and neither was mine. You know, at that point, I had to spend 5.5 years of games and go to an online school, you know, in order to do this. But is this something where this particular individual would have an easier time at AnimSchool because they obviously grasp the software and could just really concentrate on the acting and things like that? Absolutely. Right. So this is an example of someone that would definitely be hitting the ground running in you know, AnimSchool going forward. So cool. Did you want to take the next one, Manuel, or?
Wait, I need a link. Can you send me, because I can access the link through there? But yeah, don't worry about the music. Like, I like the comment. I saw that you spent 3 hours on the music just to get skipped. Like, I mean, just put it. That's fine. I mean, if it's like low, they'll probably leave it, but if it's too loud, they'll mute the video.
I'm gonna make a comment about this just because I really like Severance, the show, and they were talking about how I do recommend, not necessarily for recruiters, but I do think a lot of people do get discovered on social media, and so I think this can either be a real can either help you or hurt you. I think more and more, not only do you need to be an animator, but you have to be this is kind of what Tony said. You have to be a really good curator. When he talked about every single reel he had a game reel, he had kind of probably more cartoony reel. You need to curate your own work because you're only going to be as strong as your worst shot. So if you're trying to get a video game job and you're posting stuff that's irrelevant, it's going to, for the recruiter that is just trying to go through it really fast, they're going to be like, come on. Like the others that actually, even if it's good, it might actually hurt because it's not what they're looking for. So curating your reel, if you are going to have music, don't have, make sure that it's supporting and shows that you have good curation skills, should really like be chill with it. Don't have any, you don't want to polish your rotten apple. So I think music is important in this day and age because you can, like I said, I brought up Severance because they found just a 3D animator because somebody posted to their Instagram kind of these weird 3D modeling things they did and 3D animation, and they liked it. So you can get discovered that way. So I think for your own social media, you should make it entertaining, but be very careful what you decide to do.
Cool. Yeah. So I posted a link in here, Manuel, of the second synchsketch link.
Yeah, I was trying to if I could share the audio, I can. So I'm just gonna share it.
Cool. Yep.
Well, let's see. Let me see.
Yeah, Tony, while he's getting that up, do you have any kind of advice about curating your reel? Like how do you pick what to put in it?
Yeah. So like if you're going into like a good example is I'll use like the extremes, right? If you're going into an ImageWorks or something like that, and you know, I have students that it's kind of like a double-edged sword where I have some students that have gotten into ImageWorks. And it was really funny because I think it was like Mitchell's versus the Machines. When I looked at the credits, I counted, I think, 17 former students of mine that worked on Mitchell's versus Machines and then went on to Spider-Verse. And it was funny, out of those 17, 12 of them had to retake my class. Because that's just how perfection that they wanted, on it. To go, all right, no, I got to get this even better. I got to get this even better. But what was interesting about it is I told them if that's the studio you want to get into, that's okay. But don't only have your reel show that style, right? That really stylized, cartoony style. Because guess what? If you only have that on your reel, that's the only kind of studios that's going to be able to hire you, and those are few and far between. So where they found success was they did a few shots that were based on that really kind of push cartoony style. I think all of them made it the AnimSchool show reel. And then they put more of their kind of body mechanic stuff on the back end. And then that's what got their attention to ImageWorks. But then on the flip side, when they did a VFX style reel or applied to, I think it was MPC, Framestore, they put all of their body mechanics at the front and then put some of that at the back end. And then a few of them got hired into VFX studios, which was nice. So literally same content on your reel, but the order was just slightly different. That shows that you're a well-rounded animator. But the first thing that pops up on your reel is what grabs the attention of that particular studio. So look at the movies that they're doing, and that's the style you want to emulate, because they don't want to hire an animator that they're going to have to train in that style. They're going to want to hire an animator that can already hit the ground running doing that,
And
cool.
Going back to the last reel you reviewed, I liked the one they picked first. It seemed like the strongest to me and most visually interesting and most entertaining. But on that last one, I know we're going to go to a new one, but was there any, Tony, on that last one that you would take out or change it up?
It really depends on the studio. I probably would have taken out some of the mechanical mech stuff, only because there was not a lot of weight or not a balance shifting stuff there. And then I probably would have taken out the acting shot with the audio, just because it wasn't a very strong acting piece. Not to say that that's not, like it's worlds beyond someone that is, even just like learning on their on their own. But that's a piece that probably would not get you hired in a major studio, right?
Thanks, Tony. So, all right, let's go to this next one.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, Larissa, I'm gonna check yours. Okay, good. Larissa, so yeah, you have 3 shots here. It's good. I think like maybe the first shot for me is a little bit too long. It's basically what Tony was saying now. If the recruiter, whoever is watching your reel, they get bored or they don't like the style that you have, meaning like it doesn't match the movie that they are making, they'll basically turn it off. They are not gonna skip ahead. They just go to the next topic again, right? So like, I think like you want to engage them as much as you can, especially with your first shot. So like, you guys need to be careful when you put like a really long shot at the beginning of your reel. It needs to be really entertaining, or they'll just move on, right? I think it's good. The problem is like for me, it's a little bit too long. So like, just this, like the amount of time you spend there with a laser, like I think is like too much. Like I think like this part at the end for me is more entertaining than this part at the end right here. Like if you go from here, it's more entertaining than all the beginning part. I think this one shows like more body mechanics stuff than the beginning. I don't think you need the beginning part. So I would like to do something like this. Then for the acting shot, when you do acting, like you wanna, like, if you look at what's happening here, like every time she does something, every time she's moving along. Like my first, like the way I learned it the hard way was like, Manuel, they told me you need to work within a pose as much as you can. Meaning like you need to remember that the audience is watching your shot, it's not you. You're used to watch this and you know what you're doing, you know what you're looking at, but someone like us, we don't, you need to guide us to where you want to, right? So like when I say this moving all at the same time, especially this, when you have two characters in the scene, they are both moving at the same time when they do this, right? So like I don't know where to look. Right? Like I know he's talking, so like, I don't know where to look. So my eyes, they go here to the center. So like, you wanna like maybe direct the attention to him now, because like that's what you're showing after the cut, and that she should be like not moving. If she's talking, she should be moving. She should be listening. He should be listening, right? So like you need to guide us. That's why staging is super important, and gestures. Like if you see what he's doing, the way he grabs the muffin, he's just anticipating a ton. You don't need to do this, right? Like it's like if I want a muffin and I'm hungry, I'll go like as fast as I can to take it out of her hand, right? So like you need to think of a purpose. That's the main thing. Everything we do, there is a purpose behind it. Like I'm not gonna do all this to grab a muffin. I'm just gonna grab it. It's mine, right? So like you need to always think of a purpose and why you do things, right? So like then when you do this too, right? You see when she's gesturing, like you go into this, right? Then you go into this after. So like you have two broad gestures with both hands. Another thing is what I was telling you before, right? My eyes go here, my eyes go here. So like if she's talking to him, you want to get the attention here, right? To her face mostly. So with the gestures it's the same. You can probably keep the hand closer to her face, and this one maybe just straight down so we don't see it. So you basically are using this side of the screen now, smaller, right? If he's not moving, I'm gonna look at her. So that's something you need to keep in mind. That's why having like good fundamentals is really good, but it's what Tony was saying. Like performance is super important. So you need to be aware of like of the audience, right? And then the last one, that's good. A quadruped. I remember when we got hired at Sony back in the day when after Cloudy, like they really looked for, like you didn't see that many quadrupeds on demo reels. You always saw just like bipeds or like you just acting stuff, and they did appreciate that, because like when you get hired to a company like Sony, you have different projects. So it's what Tony was mentioning before too. You have VFX projects, you have feature film projects. So just having this, that's good, because like they can see that you can animate quadrupeds. The thing is like just doing like a run cycle. Maybe if you go to a company like Sony, you could do a quadruped that is on acting with a quadruped, or elaborate a little bit more on the run, right? But like that's for me. That's Tony. You have something to say on this one, or like?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, just going back to the storytelling aspect of it, it's like, I guess my big thing, and this is what I always push my animators and my teams and my studios to do, at this point, is why is he chasing the laser?
Exactly.
Like, why? Like, answer that question. If inside of the acting and the storytelling, you can tell us why he's chasing the laser, and the answer can't just be, oh, because he's a toy. Well, is he a cat? Is he a because generally when you chase lasers, you're either like a cat or you're someone that's, just like, of a different type of intelligence level. So is he a playful toy? But if he's a playful toy, then why does he look like a superhero toy? It's just like it like the storytelling doesn't match what the character design is, right? And that's the challenge when you say, well, I don't know, why is he chasing the laser? If you can explain that in your animation, that's going to put your reel all the way to the beginning of the top, right? Because, like I said, we need to hire storytellers. They don't want to see animation tech demos. They want to see storytelling animators, right? But I mean, overall, it's a you know, like Manuel said, a really, really solid reel. Really, I mean, I would say that getting into like a TV studio wouldn't be an issue with this quality of animation, right, Manuel? Like,
yeah, exactly. I think what you said, just to like elaborate on that, is subtext. What Tony is mentioning too is the subtext. What's the, you know, why you're doing what you're doing? What is he doing what he's doing, right? What is he chasing the laser? So you need to animate subtext, right? So what's the motive of the character to do what she is doing, right? So always think about that when you do acting shots, because that's gonna give you a way more sincere and honest performance of what you're trying to get than just going in and just putting poses because like this one looks pretty, right? The hand here looks pretty or whatever. Is what I said. It's purpose and subtext. You need to like always have both in mind.
yeah. And so like one of the things that we do when I used to teach body mechanics, is we always do the practice, and there's a lot of practicing that goes on inside of animation where you just practice certain things, weight shifts, different types of exercises, if you will, right? It was one of the things we do is we do the run and the jump of the gap, right? And the thing that I always add on to my students, we go into weight shifts, we go into anticipation, we go into all that type of stuff to talk about the biomechanics at its core through the actual physics of it. But one of the things that I always tell my students to do is I say, just answer the question, why are they jumping the gap, right? Are they running from something or are they running to something? And you can add just a little bit of something in that running the gap, or jumping the gap animation where someone kind of turns around first and then they run and then they jump. You still get the exercise in there, but you're showing that you're giving the character just a little bit of motivation in what traditionally is just a exercise assignment. And I've had people come up with things that are so clever and so fun that even though it is something as simple as just jumping over, a gap to show some body mechanics, they put it on their reel because there's enough of a story there that makes it an impressive piece for the demo reel, So motive. So cool.
Exactly. All
right.
What is Jesse?
I don't know. Jesse left. It's us now. We're in charge. We're the captain now.
I was sharing my screen and then I'm coming back. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, where'd you go? All right, so I have another one here. Oh, there he goes. He's back.
Sorry.
What's up, Jesse?
I'm here. I just went off the stage because you guys were having such a good conversation.
No, it's fine. I was sharing my screen and then I'm like, wait, what happened?
Yeah. Feel free to share the next one, and I can.
All right, I got the next one. Yeah, it's not sharing audio for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I was trying, but
that's okay. All right, so here we go. We got a YouTube link. So let's take a look at this one here. All right, here we go.
That shot looks super familiar to me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this. I would advise. It looks like a Tyler Mann shot from one of our
shot
students.
did in my class.
Yeah. So maybe let's talk about that.
Okay.
If you what do you guys feel about someone who's learning?
We'll talk about it after.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Can you find the original, Manuel, anywhere?
Wait. Yeah. Let me. Okay. I'll find it.
Cool. So before we talk about the first shot, I think overall one of the few things that I would definitely avoid is, so you do like a wrestling move here, and then you show the exact same thing in slow motion. That's unneeded. Like there's no reason to show it again. If it wasn't clear enough at normal speed what happened, that you need to clarify it with the slow motion, then it was not successful in fast motion, right? Because we don't have that type of stuff in movies and games and things like that. Or do it in slow motion, right? Start it fast and then do the whole kind of cool Matrix thing, but then you have to animate it, for that. That's where you'd go in there and actually animate the weight and the things like that. Moving forward, I think this is a lot of great kind of practice stuff. Getting a little bit more technical, the first thing that just kind of brought me out of it was the fact that the character on the left, the girl here, she's cross-eyed a majority of the shot, right? Where her, she has this eye kind of looking upper to the screen left, and then this one's kind of looking slightly upper, to the right. Kind of same thing still going on here. Same thing here. She's really cross-eyed here. So this is where we get into, you know, one of our facial performance classes where we really learn a lot about staging the face to the camera, staging the intent to the camera. And one thing that really surprised me going from VFX to full CG features, and I'm sure Manuel can back me up here, is how easy it is to get a character off model. You think that, you know, these characters, you just manipulate the rig however you want, and then they just kind of stay on model. It's like, like you can make these characters look real different real quick. And that's where you get into more of those kind of 2D, you know, fundamentals where, in VFX, a lot of the time, especially with creatures and monsters, they have like muscle deformers and they have things that will keep it on model because of how complex the actual rigs are. Where using iconic CG characters, you look at, you know, like Blue Sky characters, Disney characters, Illumination characters, even having animated some of the, you know, minion stuff recently for some of our attractions. Even the minions, it is super easy to get them off model and not look like a minion. Right, just by hitting certain poses and things in the, you know, in the mouth corners. And a lot of the times you'll have character Bibles that they will hand out to the animation teams, where before an animated feature gets started, the lead supervisors, directors, they'll go in there and they'll say, this is how you do a smile, this is how you do, you know, this expression, this is how you do that, to keep the character what's called on model. So, you know, with this type of stuff, I see her turning into 3 or 4 different characters, you know, the entire time. Which is fine, because then again, I just want to be very, very, very clear with everyone here. Everything that I've seen so far is way better than my first reel ever was, ever, right? You know, the world will never see the light of day of that one, right? I mean, maybe one day, you know. But it, you know, this is awesome that everyone is able to get to this, you know, level, even just learning on their own, which is fantastic. But I think this is something where, you know, you don't want to put the you know, why should you hire me? We should hire you because we look at your reel, and that's, you know, literally why we should hire you, right? You don't need to put any of the subtitles or anything like that in there. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in here, but a lot of, I'm seeing a lot of, you know, jerkiness, poppiness, a lot of poses that are being held and isolated motion and things like that. But, you know, these are the things that when we go into, you know, our classes, we really diagnose and type of synchsketch, you know? So like, here's an example where this expression here makes the character look completely different than her here, right? Like that looked like 2 totally different characters. All right, so keeping the character on model is something that we absolutely, you know, concentrate on as well. So cool. Did you want to talk about the first shot, Manuel?
Yeah. No, I mean, especially what Tony's saying. So if you look at the first shot, right? If you see this, now let me share my screen, Tony.
Oh, sure. Here, let me stop. Okay.
Thanks, man. Share screen. Why is it so complicated to share screen through here? Okay, there we go.
We're used to Zoom, yeah.
See my screen?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So this sound, it looks similar, huh?
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the problem with this is, you put why we should hire you right at the end. That's why we should not hire you, correct? Like if you copy a shot, you don't put it in your reel, never. You can do it for practice, yes. Like what Tony said before, it's a really small industry. We all know each other. The funny thing is, like, Tyler was my student in class 4, so I remember this. And Tyler works at Disney. So, like, if you're sending your reel between Tony, Tyler, and myself, you probably have like 4 or 5 companies there that if they see this, you are not getting in, never.
Yeah, I know that shot too. So lots of other people just like me, I know that shot too. So
exactly. So like it's what we said. The industry is really small. If you copy a shot, do it for practice. That's completely fine. I mean, you know, we all did it probably, right? At one point, but never put in your reel. Because if we see this, and believe me, we'll see this. Like that's it. You're probably not getting into animation after this.
Yeah,
like
it's really important, guys, to show what you can bring to the table, right? Studios are not hiring you to see what you can copy, right? Studios are going to hire you to say, what can you bring to the table? You know?
Right. Yeah. And at least if you do that, you need to put the name of the original shot or the original animator. Because like animators, I think that's what they told me at the beginning. They hate when you copy their shots and you don't credit them. That's what they told me when I was a student. And I never did it. But, you know, if you do, you know, something, you need to credit that, right? If I grab a Tony shot just to, I don't know, show whatever I can do, I'll be like, yeah, Tony did this. and I did this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or this is a copy of Tommy's shot.
I love that. I love that advice. It's the best, which is if you are going to try to do it for learning, yeah, credit them. But for a reel that you're submitting to get work, yeah, that's a no-no.
Because I mean, you need to be fair. This student put a ton of work on this, so you need to at least tell the people. Because I mean, we've seen this before, right? They put it on LinkedIn or whatever. They promote themselves, but they don't credit. It's a copy. So what happens? We see it, and then I mean, that's the worst thing that can happen. That we see it. So like at least if you're honest, not we'll be like, okay, that's fine. But I mean, if you don't say anything, I mean, they'll catch you.
Yeah.
Like somebody's gonna say this.
Tony, I have this to show you from Larissa. But what you told her on her reel.
Oh, cool. Awesome. That's awesome, Larissa. Great stuff.
Nice.
Good. Cool.
And Manuel. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I got the next one in the chat, Manuel. If you wanted to take that one, I think the video is just right on the root of the website.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
All right, while you're pulling that up, do you have any advice for people who just lose focus during animation, like just animate out of instinct and not really think much during the process, and then get mad that it looks bad? Yeah, that happens all the time. There were times on like movies where like I didn't start like actually doing real animation till like 4 or 5 o'clock. Or you're just like stare at your computer, just like move your mouse, and you're like, oh my god! Especially if you're reanimating the shot like 50 times. My advice is honestly, this it seems cliche, but it's like, every animator hits their stride differently, just like any industry. It doesn't have to be animation. Some people are morning people, some people are evening people, some people like are good more technically, some are good more creatively. What I found the best when I literally have to concentrate on a shot, and I remember doing this on a few extraordinarily complicated shots. There was one on Hotel Transylvania 2 where I broke the render farm. I had to use the render farm just to play blast. I needed 12,000 CPU cores to play blast the stupid shot because it had every character in the shot, and it had every child in there, and every monster, and everything. And it took an hour and a half to open and 2 hours to save. And that was one of those shots where, sometimes you can just put on music, sometimes you can put on a show, if it's like busy work and you're like tracking arcs and stuff. But that was the one where I had to put headphones on and just have nothing on. Right. And even if it was only in half an hour, 45-minute spurts, that was fine. Okay. Because I go, half an hour, 45 minutes, you're like exhausted. It's almost like taking a test. Like your brain is just like, oh my God, I can't take any more of this. Minimize distractions. Okay. Do not have the internet up, because I promise you the second you're like, oh, I'm just going to check my email really quick. Oh, I got a link to this. Oh, I got this. And then you just go down the rabbit hole of, like Reddit. Don't do that. Right. Actually, if you want, you can say, I'm going to spend 30 minutes now, no internet, and just concentrate on the shot. And a lot of it really just is self-discipline and learning how to do that. But there is a lot of times where I've genuinely animated and I like zoned out and I come out of it and I'm just like, what did I just do? What just happened? And that's the time that you need to go outside. You need to look at something else. You need to stretch your legs, go to the bathroom, grab a drink, go get lunch, go do something. Because if you constantly look at your shot over and over and over and over again, right? And so many students ask me like, Tony, oh my God, Tony, Manuel, instructors, how the hell you're able to look at my shot in 1 second and identify this and this and this and this and this? You guys are amazing. It's like, no, we just haven't been looking at your shot over and over and over again, right? Everyone knows that our brain and our eye system is used for optimization. Right. We're not designed to look at the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, because I'm sure you've all seen those brain illusions where if you stare at something long enough, it starts to delete stuff or the colors start to change or things like that. So when you're looking at a shot over and over and over and over again, your brain literally starts to delete things, inside of there. Inside of the school, we give a ton of tips on how to do that, what to do in synchsketch, how to reset your brain. I give a little lecture of what they figured out on Jurassic Park way back in the day on how to delete your brain instantaneously, and we share that inside the VFX class. But really, it's about if you're falling into that, go take a break, come back, look at it, and play it once, and you might go, oh my God. And one of the exercises that I do with my students, because in VFX class we will work on 2 shots at the same time towards the end when we transition. And I'll say your first shot, take 3 weeks from it. Do not open it. Do not open Maya. Do not think about it. Do not look at the play blast. Do not look anything. When you come back after 3 weeks, sit down, play it once, and have your notebook open. That's it. and you will be amazed the stuff you see because your brain kind of, you know, erases it. There's other things you can do, but that's kind of one of the, you know, one of the things. So cool.
Yeah,
Sorry, Manuel, go for it.
I know, perfect. Good. Yeah. And one thing we did too is like you play it like backwards. That helps too. Or like you flip it like a mirror, so it's not the same shot. That helps. But then, like at least for me, I don't know you, Tony, but for me, and I think every single form of art, you can only be inspired for a short period of time. For me, I think it's like 3 hours, 3 hours and a half. I was able to do the work of like 8 hours in 3 hours and a half. But you're really inspired, is what Tony was saying. You're in the zone, and I think that you said if you animate by, well, you mentioned like feeling or whatever, not thinking that much. Honestly, the best shots I've done in my life, I didn't even think about them because it just came out of feeling, right? I just put the music on and just like go straight ahead, and it was like good from the beginning. So like for me, I love that when that happens because it's like meditation. You're just in the zone. You're super inspired, and when that happens, like you can do like amazing work. You don't need to think about so many concepts. It's like with the students, the problem is that you talk about so many concepts, subtext, purpose, everything. So like when you start the show, you're like, wait, so purpose, all this, and your brain just like implodes, right? I'd say, I mean, I'm not calling it bullshit, but like you need to think about what like feeling, right? It's like animation is movement. Animation is like music. It's like, you know, it's like flow. It's the flow. You need to keep people entertained. It's the flow of everything coming together. So as long as it flows correctly, that's fine, man. You know what I mean? Like that's like for me at least, when I animate out of feeling, that's when I do my best work. If I think too much, is what Tony said. I'm taking a break. I'm just doing sport or whatever, and I'm coming back. I don't like thinking too much either. So
cool. Did you want to take Catherine's reel there? You know? Cool.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna reload the page. There you go. Awesome. So I'm guessing you want to get into video games. After seeing this, I mean, I like the everything you have, like the ideas. Just for me, Catherine, right now, like just the fundamentals, the principles of animation, they are not applied correctly, right? Like right here, wait, what are we? Right here, you're missing a ton of weight, spacing, right? Right here, if you do this, you're falling forward, right? So it's like, it's just like you need to start from the intro class just to like get those principles, like, nailed down. I like this one better, but still, you need a little bit of like going back to the fundamentals just to like be able to do this, to push a little bit more the animation on this. It just feels a little bit right now. I love the ideas though, especially the first one. I love Sonic, so, but like it just feels a little bit too basic animation wise yet, right? But I love that you're doing everything. So I mean, I can see you're talented. It's just like you just need to put more work into the animation side of things, right? That's the only thing for me. Like I think it's just like what I was saying, just the fundamentals. They need more work. But I love that, I love the model of Deadpool, but I love that you want to get into video games. But just pushing, you need that foundation. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I first off, just like real wise, don't worry about putting the software on the bottom. Nobody cares. right? It's just, you know, make it full screen, show off your animation. You don't have to put walk cycle, run cycle. We should be able to look at it and go, yep, that's a walk cycle, that's a run cycle. You know, we don't need to label what's going on. That's, you know, that's the point of being a good animator and a, you know, storyteller. So I would remove those. I like that you want to tell stories inside of things. I think that that's great. I think you have the natural knack of wanting to tell those stories, which is that next level that we're looking for. But like Manuel says, I just, you know, echo him. We're missing a lot of the basics and mechanics, weight shifts, timing, spacing, you know, so that's where I think we just need to take this to the next level, and then you can combine it with your storytelling ability, and then that's how you're going to, you know, elevate your reel. So, cool.
Yep. Okay, Tony, you wanna go, man?
Cool. Yeah. So there is a someone's next a cache, I think, is obviously from AnimSchool. So we'll do those last. I think we'll save the AnimSchool ones for last. So I'll take a look at Srinivas. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
You guys can just ask on the chat.
Yeah. What's cool is if you guys ask questions in the chat, we can actually put it up on screen. So cool. You know, we are selective, but yeah, ask your question.
All right, Vimeo link here. Cool. All right, here we go. Nice. Really, really amazing stuff. I don't know if you guys heard audio or not because we're having trouble sharing.
Yeah, we didn't. But oh, wow, what a cool reel.
I love this first shot. I am a sucker because I always get, ever since my Rhythm and Hughes days, always get stuck with the multi-character ridiculously long, you know, shots. And I love this first shot so much. So because all the fun posing, all the fun stuff happening, how we're leading, you know, the cameras. Obviously, in, you know, shows like this, you're very versed with, you know, staging the character, you know, to the camera, right? And especially with a character like SpongeBob, who is originally realized in 2D, you know, you just kind of draw that stage into the camera. This has to work in 3D. So your grasp of this style of animation is absolutely fantastic, and I love it, and it's awesome. Really fantastic stuff here. Really long shots, a lot of acting, really cool things. The only negative that I would say, or not negative, I'll say less strong, is the realistic shot here, right? And a lot of it to me didn't work, you know, only because there was a few antics, you know, in here. Like the, you know, he's trying to say, I know you guys can't hear the audio, but let me hear what he's trying to enunciate there. You know, where he's laughing while he does it, and you get a little bit of that, like, you know, like swallowing and stuff in there. And as someone who has multiple patents in facial technology coming to Universal soon, right? There's a lot of of volume changing inside of the face that doesn't actually happen inside of the capillary muscles inside of here, right? So everything that you've showcased on your reel, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And this is a little bit of a hit where you're like, oh, we're going to show something a little bit more realistic, which is great, but it ends up, I think, doing more harm on your reel than good, right? So I would definitely cut this from the reel. You know, and you know, especially because it's like it's stealing from an audio that's so recognizable, you know, from Batman. For those of you that like didn't hear it, it's like he turns to me and he says, "Why so serious?" You know, it's like one of those. I'm like, just pick something else, because the only thing people are going to recognize is that shot from the actual movie with Heath Ledger saying it and other people trying to imitate that, right? So, you know, find something else. But I think the only thing I would do to round out your reel, because the quadruped stuff you have is fantastic. I love when the character at the end here, when, you know, I love the acting when we can do quadrupeds with acting inside of it, uneven ground, all that stuff in there. I mean, they did not make this easy for you. You know, they're just like, why can't you just keep the ground flat? What the heck? You know, but I love when we can do quadruped stuff with the acting inside of it. That's really complex. So to round your reel out a little bit, the only thing I would do is add a little bit more of that realistic style, you know, in it, if you wanted to, and go for that, because then that appeal to VFX studios too. Now this is kind of advice for everyone. I've had people that have reels like this and even stronger get rejected by VFX studios, right? I've seen folks with shots from Transformers and, you know, hero shots from Marvel movies and things like that get rejected from studios like ImageWorks or Disney or, you know, Pixar, because of the stylization. So I think you've absolutely nailed this style. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. You have real life production experience, which goes, a really long way. If you wanted to open yourself up to more job opportunities as well, because we all know the industry is shifting all over the place, and constantly will, add a little bit more of those really realistic style mechanic things to show that you can do both, and then you become a big asset, right? So just like Manuel mentioned earlier, I know multiple friends that were working on Spider-Verse, and then they needed to keep some folks on, you know, or have, you know, transitions between folks. And then because they've done more realistic stuff before, they're like, yo, we're just going to throw you on like Suicide Squad for like a few months to float you until the next fire, you know, that, or we're going to, you know, put you on the next Spider-Man, you know, the live action one. And some of these folks have been animating Spider-Man for like 8 years of their life, and they go between the Spider-Man, like one between like Homecoming and Spider-Verse, and back to Homecoming and Spider-Verse, back and forth, and it just made them a much more versatile animator. But other than that, this is an extremely impressive reel. I like it a lot. You showed some really good stuff, but that would be my only advice on it. So well done. Anything else, Manuel?
I completely agree with everything you said. I think like the only thing they shot after this one, the one that's short, that they're pulling, like they're grabbing their hands, right? Yeah. Like that one I would take it out too, because it's what Tony said. You already have everything in your reel. You don't need this one right here. Like it looks a little bit weaker compared to the rest, especially the way he gets up and the you know, the moving forward. I think you have like way stronger stuff. Like I would take it out and just leave the rest, because the one that Tony mentioned for me is your best shot, and the SpongeBob at the beginning. Like that's it. Yep. But the rest is awesome. I mean, I love your stuff.
Cool. Awesome. Well done. Cool. And then the next one, Manuel, for you is here. Cool.
Got it. That's fine. Here we go. Wait. Oh, okay. Tony, you want to wait? Let me log in. I'll do it in 1 second. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. I can just share.
Yeah. Are there any questions? You guys have any questions? Feel free to type them in.
Who's Matthew Lillard? Sorry, I don't know who that is.
Wait, what?
It's SLC Punk. I think most recently Five Nights at Freddy's. He was he played Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo movies.
Oh well, thanks. I guess
he was in Scream. He was the kid in Scream.
In terms of, you know.
Hey, that's a compliment, man. Matthew Lillard is awesome.
Hey, good. Okay, cool. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Cool.
Okay, let's do this. You guys can say this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I like what you did here. You put the.
I think that's actually a shot from Moana. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. In the upper right.
They're showing the reference, which is good to show. Hey, like they're showing what they're looking at.
Yeah, I like that you put the original. That you put the original shot, right? Like that. Sorry, because I know they can't hear the audio. I can. Like it's what I was mentioning before. Like for you, it's the same. Like I would go to back to the principles of animation. Just like first you start from scratch. The 12 principles. Like the way if you hear the audio. I mean, I'm focusing on the lip sync, but that applies to body mechanics and everything else. Like the audio is completely off, right? Like the lip sync from the audio. But like for me, I would do the same. Like you're jumping into acting before you have a good foundation. So like if you want to work in animation, you need to start and focus on the fundamentals first, and then once you have more experience on like you dominate those, then you go into acting so you can focus on performance. If not, you're struggling with body mechanics and then you're trying to get into a performance, right? Like I like your ideas. Like I think that like the ideas and the variation, like the amount of shots you have is fine. I think I will put maybe like one more shot. Like I think like 24 seconds maybe it's a little bit. I will put something else, but it's what I was telling you. Like I would just go back to the principles first, and then once you have a good foundation, then you can focus on acting. If it's what you like, Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It's just like with the shot at the end, like it depends, and I know there's a lot of I've spoken with a lot of students and given a lot of talks about this where they're just like, well, why wouldn't we do just copying shots like that, right? And I finally got to the bottom of this industry-wide. Finally figured it out. Why this is such a thing. And I cracked this nut like last year. It's because there are a lot of rotomation jobs for tracking and rotomation. So from my understanding, these shots showing that you can copy an existing animation is not necessarily going for an animator job. It's going for a roto artist job, right? So at least in the States, at the major studios or in UK or Canada, the major Hollywood studios, if you're going for animator, right, we do not put that on your reel, because that just shows you know how to copy something that already existed that's worthless, right? That means nothing to us. If you want to practice with that, that's awesome. But the only time you would ever do that, either roto a shot that's inspired by something else, or do what was done here in this reel where you have the actual original up on top, is if you're literally applying for a job for rotoscoping, tracking, or rotomation. Okay, because then you're showcasing, oh, I can roto a track proxy over real animation or over a person, because a lot of times they'll roto over a person to get the actual tracking data in there, specifically for VFX, which is a full career. Like tracking is a full department, right? And they've got to be really, really good at that. But for animation itself, that's a big no-no, right? So opinion about shots that are practice shots from school, but with some changes, maybe students with similar shot, they're considered like copy shots also. That's fine for practice, just don't show it on a reel, right? Exactly. Because even if you didn't show the original source like we showed earlier, we were able to call out that shot immediately, and that's just not showing original ideas. So cool. But other than that, yeah, I think it's good practice stuff. But yeah, like Manuel said, a lot of the missing of the fundamentals, you have to walk before you can run, right? And that's where we start. So yeah, cool. For demo reels, I usually see people saying that we would add 2 acting and 1 body mechanic shots. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, it really depends on what studio you're applying to, right? If you're applying to a VFX studio that does monster movies, I would say 5 monster shots and 1 acting shot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is no rule. I mean, it's what Tom is saying. It depends where you apply to, right? But there is no, as long as it's good. If it applies to what you're trying to get into, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it needs to be the best work.
Yeah, and like game reels are going to be totally different, right? Getting into game studios on the gameplay animator side of things, you're going to be showing cycles, mechanics, transitions, showcasing that you can get in and out of idles quickly, rotations, now with game animation reels, back in the day, you used to just be able to do animation. You can't do that anymore. You have to show that you're inside of Unreal. You have to show that you can build the animation trees inside of Unreal or Unity, that you can blend them together. So game animation reels nowadays are even more specific, that you better show your stuff running inside of the game engine, right? And things that you've built. Animators are expected to do that now. So,
well, we have a question which I think is great for people kind of just getting into this and even thinking about AnimSchool. We actually, how do we answer this one? Because it's kind of what AnimSchool shows you how to do.
When it comes to references, when I do animations, I use my own imagination. So meaning like you don't use video reference?
I think they're just wondering like, hey, when you want to do an original animation, where do you get your reference? Like, how do you create your own original idea?
You like it out, That's you.
Yeah.
So that's something that we showed AnimSchool how to do. Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the secrets, and I go, into this, or I tell my actors, they're like, where do we get the idea? Where do we get the idea? Where do we get the idea? One of the things that I encourage my students to do, because I say, you want to know what the secret is, and we're all in class and we all have little, just like, squares, like a Brady Bunch, because we're all kind of just like we are here. And I'm like, do you guys want to know the ultimate secret to coming up with the best ideas? And on Elven 3, Manuel, were you on Elven 3, Manuel? Were you on Shipwrecked, or did you bail by that time?
Wait, which one? Tony?
Elven 3.
I left by the time already. Yeah.
By that time, okay. Well, one of the shots that I did was the ended up getting like the crew T-shirt and things like that. Because the idea that I came up with, part of it was just frustration, where I like pushed it so far. I'm like, you want me to push it even further? Fine, I'll give you this. Blah, blah, blah. But part of it was the fact that all the best ideas are usually not realized by one animator. Okay, so inside of the school, what I tell my students, they're like, oh my God, how do you come up with these ideas? How do I come up with the shot? How do I come up with the acting? Is I say, the greatest weapon you have is everyone else in your class. That is the greatest weapon you have, because I promise you, if you come up with something funny or cool or fun or dramatic, it's going to bounce off of someone else. It's going to bounce off of someone else. It's going to bounce up. That's going to invigorate an idea that you didn't know you had. Right. So you're like, oh my God, that's actually a cool idea. I didn't like that one, but part of that was really funny. I've had students swap shots where they were like so passionate about their shot. Then another student was so passionate, about their shot. And then they like saw each other's shots. They're like, oh my God, I would really rather animate that. And they're like, I'd really rather animate yours. And then they would switch it. Right. So engage in the school and engage in the other students, because any ideas that you have are going to get bounced around. In terms of video reference, right? There are shots that I've done no reference on. There are shots where I've done a ton of reference. I know a lot of animators, and I know, Manuel, you've been through this too. We see animators that have other animators do their reference for them. I know Blue Sky was like notorious for this, where they would do their own reference, and then they'd have another animator do their reference, and 9 times out of 10, they're like, I'm going to use your reference. That was like, I did not think of animating it that way. And there are animators that will only do reference for other animators and never use their own, right? I've seen that happen so many times. But remember, reference is not something to just be rotoscoped over, right? My personal opinion is that if you're just doing reference, and then, I see some of these shots, even from like major studios, and I'm like, they do the reference, and I just see you just literally rotoscoped off of that. I'm like, well, then you might as well have just shot the movie live action. What was the point of that? You're adapting your animation onto these characters that don't exist into things that are fantastical, that need to be pushed further, right? So I've seen, I do this a lot actually, where I will take, reference or use it from someone else, bounce ideas off, and there'll be parts where you can compare my reference where it's like, it's pretty identical, nothing even remotely close to what's going on in that video inside of and then back to identical again, and that's how you kind of massage it in place. But your imagination is always going to be the best thing, because that's what you want to create. People don't go to watch animated movies to, well, why didn't they just make this live action? What's the point? So one of the advantages of the school that we keep talking about is you have the instructor there, you have other students there, you have other experts there, and you have other folks that bounce these ideas all around. And the final idea or video reference that you came up with is a lot of the times in edit different things. I'm sure you guys have seen that before, where I've actually seen amazing shots done where it was like their own reference, then it goes into someone else's reference, then it goes to theirs, then it goes to another one of theirs, but it's a different environment because they cut it from a different section that they did a few days later, and they put the reference together of the best of all the takes of everything that they've done, and that usually comes out amazing, and awesome. So coming to a school like AnimSchool, having access to the entirety of the school of animators is a massive advantage. So
also, I just want to say, as someone who started off just an illustration, which is kind of like a solo type career, I switched over to wanting to be with the animation kids because they're just having more fun. Like even hearing Tony talk about the students in his class just swapping, sometimes doing art can be a really like lonely profession. And what's so cool about getting into this industry is building these giant things together. I mean, how cool it like, I think there's a big feeling of, oh, it's so competitive, it's so this. Absolutely, it's competitive when you're trying to get a job, but also it's so collaborative, and we look out for each other, and we're hiring each other, we're getting people hired. It's not even about being better. It's kind of like Tony was saying, it's like having your own story to tell. That's what he was saying earlier, right, about a reel. It's like, hey, what makes you unique? Why wouldn't you just copy someone else's shot? Because we want to see what you bring, your personality to this.
Yeah. It's the journey and the friendships you make along the way.
Yeah, it really is, though. I mean, it's why I think people are so drawn to this. Even with, I know there's always a lot of fear about change and things shifting, but I still think with all that, like the future is bright because artists build new ways to do stuff. That I think like every story hasn't been told. When people go like, oh, what about this? What about that? Like, we don't know what's coming next. And animators are going to be the ones who help, tell the next generation of stories. And what's cool about what Tony's doing is taking those stories and then putting it into the real world, in amusement parks. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because sometimes I think animators go, oh, I didn't get my job at Pixar, I didn't get my job at Disney. Like, Tony, like your career, like talk about that maybe. Just like, has it gone the way that you thought? Like you're gonna be at this one place forever and do this? Like, hearing what you said at the beginning, like, do you have any advice for animators that way, where like, I mean, have an idea what an animator is, like what can it do?
Never in a billion years would I ever thought I would ever be working in amusement parks, designing rides, working with this type of, like, ever. And it was so funny because I'll be like watching these old home videos sometimes because my dad is like, digitizing all our old VHS tapes that are like rotting, because they're 30 years old. And then watching us as like kids, walking down, Universal and looking at these rides, and, 25 years later looking and being like, wow, I was like in charge of that building, like, or the media inside of that building, or, the robotics inside of that building, or, working with these things. Never in a billion years would I have ever thought of that. And what's so nice about animation is because it rounds you as an actor, it rounds you as a creative, it rounds you as, an artist. Animation branches out into a lot of different things. And whenever anyone has an animation, background, getting into a different type of adjacent career, I find it to be very, very, very advantageous. There's a lot of different industries out there. Animation isn't the only one. I use my animation skills pretty much every day. Sometimes I even use my animation skills in like project management, because you got to do that. The higher you go in the animation industry, the less time you animate, the more time you're in Excel looking at budgets. That's that's how things work. Animation directors and heads of animation spend more time casting shots and going over budgets and bid days and things than they do actually animating. So there is a business aspect to everything on that. But never in a billion years would I ever think I'd be doing this at all. So cool. I have one reel that I do want to talk about, though. This was someone in AnimSchool, and I want to showcase a really solid reel, I think, that came out of the school and what the next level would be, right? How I would push to the next level. So let me share this really quick, and then I'd love to get Manuel's feedback too on this. And I'm glad we're going to look at this without audio, because again, we don't need audio to judge the animation inside of this. But let's take a look here. All right.
He's going with the aliens. But
Cool. So solid reel. I'm sure me and Manuel could spend an hour on this going through, giving polished notes, talking about different acting choices, things like this. But the advice I would give to a student like this, because I get a lot of students like this, right? And a lot of the time, students will come in, and they will say, "Oh, I already worked on 3 or 4 movies, or I already did this. How do I get to the next level?" And this is what I try to teach in the animating and appeal class for the students that I feel are ready for it. Okay, is what I call the real situational character contact. Okay, so a lot of the reels I'm sure you guys see online are the interview style, where it's like character at this in front of a desk talking, or character standing and talking, or 2 characters that are talking opposite of each other, right? Camera A, camera B, or sometimes you do it all in one camera. If you want to really grab recruiters' attentions and do the hard shots, and by hard I don't mean technically hard. Sometimes they could be, or mechanically hard. What I mean by hard is shots that are real world scenarios, right? Meaning we call them walkie-talkies. Characters that are walking next to each other down the street, having a conversation. Characters that enter a room and sit down and move someone to another chair. It's no, hey, let me sit here, let me do this. Characters that are walking home and then hugging someone else. Oh, that's so great. Switching positions, interacting with each other, coming in physical contact, but having real scenarios, right? Something as simple as I have a dialogue shot that I want to animate and I found this audio. Okay. Because remember, we animate what characters think, not what they say. Okay. A lot of the times I'll have my students record their inner monologue and use that as the audio in their shot, not the audio, right? And they can keep their mouths like this when they animate what the inner monologue of the shot is. And very simple things where, a student would come and say, all right, I want to do this shot. This character is doing this. And then there's a punchline. And then this. I'm like, okay, but what are they doing? And they say, they're talking. I'm like, no. What are they doing? And that's where we start brainstorming ideas where they're like, oh, is it in the morning? Are they having this conversation over breakfast? Okay, cool. They're making breakfast. So, one character comes in, they sit down, they, take the coffee cup, they kind of, pour it. It's kind of out. They put it down. Yeah. Did you hear about the thing that, happened today? Someone comes in, comes in, gives the other character a kiss, cuts a piece of bread over here, puts it on the table. This one comes up, stands up, puts it in the sink, and they have this entire conversation and this acting piece in a real world scenario, real world scenario. And that's what brings it alive, right? Have these characters seem like you walked into a moment in real time. Are they out to lunch? Are they getting ready for work? Did they just come home? What are they doing in the world? And that's where you get those reels that are like, oh my God, bring this to the top, right? Especially if you have characters that switch places, right? If one of them is, walking and talking and then they come and they throw something away, something as simple as they're walking and talking and then one of them goes behind them and moves them over and throws something, in the garbage can and then comes back this way. It's such a simple action and something so, you would think basic, but that's extremely complex to think about in terms of animation because it's something you would see something do down the street. Right? 2 people having a conversation. One of them throws something out, in the had nothing to do with the shot. Did they talk about garbage? No. Did they talk about sipping coffee? No. Did they talk about any of that? No. But they're living a real scenario that you would see in a movie or in real life, right? That's the type of stuff that I would say for a demo reel like that or a shot like that of someone in, AnimSchool that's graduated or close to graduating. That's your next shot. Multi-character interaction, real world scenario. And then that one should then go to the beginning of the demo reel.
Tony, I just feel like
that's my soapbox.
Tony, I just feel like that was such gold because someone's like, well, no audio, and we're sharing these shots without audio, and it's like, yeah, it's cool to see how well someone lip sync, but I love what you said is if we were just trying to imagine what they were thinking, it's probably a really great thing too, even if you are a student, to watch your own shot without audio. Is it conveying those emotions, those ideas? Probably really great to go watch Wallace and Gromit and see how much emotion Gromit can give or how much emotion the penguin can give with very, you know, with no audio at all. Do you recommend people go way back and watch, like, you know, Buster Keaton or anything like that? Or
Oh my God, yeah, of
yeah,
course.
like, isn't that,
yeah,
you know,
watch the
they
classics.
do so much. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that you even bring up, you know, Wallace and Gromit, because like you said, with, you know, those characters, even though, you know, there is talking in it, you know, there's a lot of acting inside it. You know, everyone always brings up, you know, the like montage of Up, where, you know, they go through their entire life and how his wife died and all that. And it's like, there was zero audio on that whole thing. That brought people to laughter and tears.
Yeah.
Not a single piece of spoken dialogue in that entire thing, you know, not a single thing. And so another thing that I challenge my students with is, when we're in layout or when we're doing the basic blocking, kind of when we get into like blocking, not even blocking plus, I say no audio. Show it to someone that's not an animator. Your parents, your friends, whatever that is, not to judge the animation. Okay. Because obviously if you're going to show it to your mom, she's going to go, oh my God, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. That's it. You know, never do that. What I say is show it to someone else that's not an animator and just describe what's happening in the scene. And if they say, oh, it's two people talking, is that interesting? But if they say, oh, it's two people talking over breakfast and one of them seems a little bit more upset, or it's two people that seem like they're intensely running from something as they're doing, that's how you know that your idea was clear and you've created a situation rather than a lip sync exercise, right? The second your non-animator friends, which are essentially 99% of the world that is going to be seeing the movies, okay? Because remember, you're generating movies for the general audience, not for other animators. Okay. Like that's the whole point of Hollywood. You generate movies for the, you know, audiences globally, not for the audience of animators. Okay. Don't animate for other animators because you're never going to finish your shot. Okay. If you can very clearly, even in a blocking stage with no audio, have someone describe what's happening in that shot, even at a basic level, then you've succeeded. Then you can take it from there. Right. So these are the kind of the big ideas that when you're at AnimSchool, we go over with you guys, right? What are the motivations, how to make your animation stand out? Because I can guarantee you, and I know, you know, Manuel, I have, and I have spoken about this. You have one spot, one animation job, and it's both of these, you know, person A, person B's dream job at their dream studio. And person A, 12 principles are nailed. Oh my God, it's fantastic. It's like, look at the arcs and the timing and the detail and the, you know, oh, it's so great. Person B, maybe like 80% there on the 12 principles, but the shot got a reaction. And they're like, I've been there before. And you can forget that you're watching something animated. The 12 principles can be taught. You know, that last 10% is going to come with practice when you're in the studio. What's harder to showcase is actual storytelling. And 10 times out of 10, they're going to choose to hire the storyteller that can bring great ideas and great emotion to their shot and help them polish a little bit of their 12 principles, you know, on the job, versus someone that nailed it, but their shot is just boring. There's nothing going on except just showing what you can do with the 12 principles, right? And that's a lot of what we concentrate on when we say we want to get you guys hired. We're not here to teach the 12 principles, okay? Sure, you're going to learn them. We're here to get you hired. And what the studios are hiring is animators that can tell stories, as basic as they might be. That's what gets you hired at these studios. Cool.
All right. Did we want to do any more, or is that last one maybe just give a quick, you know, kind of show you guys what AnimSchool is about? What are we thinking here, Tony and Manuel?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, right, Tony. That was the last one, right? I think.
Yeah. I mean, is there any questions at all? Any other questions? Now's your chance, guys.
Put your questions in real quick. We do have this one. I think this is awesome. Question.
I
want to know this one. Yeah, how do you do that?
Me too. Yeah, let me know when you figure that one out.
We do 24-hour days.
Yeah. So here, just so everyone knows, feature film is 3 to 5 seconds a week, sometimes less than that, or like, you know, Blue Sky, Disney, ImageWorks, you know, high level VFX, 3 to 5 seconds a week. TV animation and or like YouTube animation, I've seen up to 35 seconds to a minute a week, right? So it really depends on the studio that you're gonna be working for, right? I'll share a quick story. Coming from VFX, working at Blue Sky the first time, I submitted my shot early. And the producers were like, awesome, the director approved it. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is like great. Let's give him the next shot. My animation director came in. He goes, you're not done with the shot yet. I go, yeah, but the director approved it. He goes, hell or high water, you're not done with the shot yet. You have another week that we bid on this shot. Your speed does not impress me. I'm like, oh, right. And so I spent another week polishing that shot with my anim director, even though the director approved it for the movie. Then you have the opposite, where you're like, you have to generate 35 seconds of animation that's supposed to be quality animation, but you have to look at what the final thing is, right? You have to look at, is this for TV? And there's such thing as good enough, right? It's always about your audience. So there are a lot of tips and tricks that we teach at the school for speed, and there's a lot of tips and tricks that we teach for quality, right? And a lot of that quality stuff comes from defining the right acting choices, defining how things and the emotion are in it. But then there's a lot of stuff that we teach for speed too, where it's just like, yo, do this in an anim layer. Let me show you how to do anim layers really quick. You know, let's adjust this note. This is just, who cares? Stop noodling over this section right here. It's fine. You know, let's get this going. Let's get this going, you know, so.
Let it go.
Let it go. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Any other questions or? When it comes to camera and animation, it's okay to sometimes match the camera speed with the fight speed as well as make the animation fast-paced enough for people who understand the fight. That's going to vary shot to shot, right? That's really about. So one of the big things that we go over in the VFX class is, and this is what really trips up animators a lot. I know, you know, myself and Manuel have dealt with this in our careers because we both worked in VFX and full CG animation, everywhere from Hotel T to, you know, CG shots. When you're dealing with a plate that's shot, you can't change the camera. It is literally what they shot on set. Like, that's it. You can't rotate that around. And so a lot of what we teach in the VFX class is how to lead the camera and give the illusion of the character, making it seem like the camera person behind it was tracking them and leading them so the camera, you know, follows them. But there's a lot of camera stuff that happens even in full CG where there, you know, there's camera lock, there's things that happen at the same time. There's, you know, so all of this type of stuff, you know, in that question gets addressed on a per shot basis. And sometimes it is okay to match the camera based on what the story of the shot is being told. You know, sometimes the camera moves are so fast that you do lose what's actually happening in the scene and they do need to be slowed down. Sometimes you get a plate that's just an absolute mess and you're like, how am I supposed to get a character to actually do this? And you fake it. That happens all, man, you guys should see what some of these cameras or what these characters look like off camera. It is a broken mess. I remember in Snow White and the Huntsman, for some reason, there's this one shot where the person that was shooting decided that the troll wasn't 15 feet tall. He decided that he was like 240,000 feet tall. And in the shot, it looks like he's on the ground and he's roaring and he's doing this. In Maya, he's floating in midair, almost horizontal, you know? So there's a lot of tricks and a lot of faking that kind of goes on. But in the school, we teach you guys how to work through that. So. Anything else, Manuel? Or is that?
No, I mean, you explain it. You explain it.
Cool. All right, what else you guys got?
Well, I was just wanting to talk about the school a bit, and you guys can chime in a little bit if you have anything more to say. I was just going to kind of go to the front page real quick because we do have the last day for spring admissions is this upcoming Monday. So we'll be starting a new term in like 2 weeks. So if you've been interested in learning animation, want to get in this career, like go check out our website, animschool.edu. So let me just show you some stuff real quick, just some kind of the fun benefits you guys get at AnimSchool. So yeah, so if you're in, like we offer 3 different kind of programs. So I think it took me a long time when I was a kid, when I heard the word animator, I just thought like, oh, that's the person that maybe makes the characters. I didn't necessarily understand like the differences. So if you're someone who likes to be more of like a performer, maybe you really love like doing stop motion with action figures, you're probably more of an animator style. If you're someone who really likes to make characters, you like to make the actual physical things, like the people who make like the Muppets, right? There's the people who make the Muppets, and then there's the people who perform the Muppets. They're sometimes could be the same person, but I think in this industry, like as you go to studios, you're probably going to specialize. And I was going to ask you guys kind of your opinion about that, because I know there are people who are they do everything, right? Like they model, they rig, they animate, but like what maybe is the benefit of maybe like picking one of these kind of focuses, you guys?
the bigger studios do not have a lot of generalists, right? There are smaller studios. Now we're talking about like smaller game studios, smaller TV studios, things like that. They do have generalists where they kind of do a little bit of everything, but all of your major studios that we all know and love, both animation and VFX, you have animation, lighting, rigging, comp, effects, TDs, pipeline. And when you're doing animation, you are just doing animation. That is it at all. It doesn't matter if you can also do lighting. Doesn't matter if you can also do that. You'll make friends with the lighters. They'll all be your best friends, but you're not going to be assigned a lighting shot if you're an animator, and vice versa. Right. So, picking what you like, I always thought I was gonna be a modeler. Because when I was a kid, I put those model airplanes and stuff, those little, Revel models together. And I'm like, I'm going to be a modeler. This is going to be great. Then I realized I hate modeling. Mostly I hate UVs. That's boring. Just not fun for me. And then there's people that are like really good friends with me. They're like, I love UVs. It's like a puzzle. It's like, oh, it's cool. You like it. And I'm like, I do not like that at all. Like, not a fan. So I think what's great about the program is that you can, when you do the introduction to Maya, for those that are kind of new to everything, a lot of the time students will not know what track they want to get into. And then they do the intro to Maya. And then they're like, oh, I enjoy this section more. I enjoy this more. And that's what's nice about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that too. So thank you so much for saying that, which is if you're an absolute beginner, we're going to have you apply with just maybe your drawings and what you've done, because we can teach you from the beginning. If you don't have any, what we're showing you today and you don't know, you've never opened a 3D program like Blender or Maya, that's okay. You can start off in Maya. And what's great about our Intro to Maya class is it kind of lets you, kind of what Tony was talking about. He was talking about like TDs, like technical artists and animators and modelers. You'll touch a little bit of everything. This is our generalist class. It's our one kind of generalist class where we try out a bunch of stuff. And this is where you kind of branch off whether you want to do animation or if you want to do character modeling or rigging. So we have this intro class. You can do either one. But if you want to do the animation program, we have what are called prerequisites, because we are an accredited school, and these are the classes that you're going to do those first fundamentals. And a lot of the reels we looked at today, a lot of the comments that Tony was making and Manuel, honestly, a lot of these fundamentals are covered in these first three classes and the fourth class. Like you'd be surprised. Like there's these are fundamentals, but there's some people who are pretty far along that probably could benefit from these classes. And I think if you have some animation background or you went to a brick and mortar school, you might need to go to Intro to 3D Animation still. I know that's a really hard thing. It's like, well, where should you start? We do have a review process when you have had some experience. Manuel, can you maybe talk about that? Like, because I think people are like, hey, I want to start later. Like, why can't I start in like class 5? So like, what do you say to someone who's like, wait, I got to go back to class 2 or class 1? Like, what do you kind of say to them?
Well, it's what we were saying when we were like checking the reels. Like, I know, like, if you don't have a professional like experience or somebody that can like really like review your reel, like you think you're like higher than you are, because you're like, yeah, I've been animating for 20 years, but 20 years what? 20 years at home? It's completely different, right? Like you need a good level to be able to find a job. So like most of the 99.9% of the reels that we get, they get into class 1, and some students they get into class 2. And if you get into higher classes, you have some experience in TV series. Maybe you get in class 3, and then if you get into class 5, 6, or 7, so the acting classes, the more advanced ones, you have professional experience.
And that's where like professionals are coming back. Like you were saying, Tony, sometimes take this as a refresher.
I did it. I had 4 years of professional game animation experience with 3 shipped games, one of them being BioShock. And when I did online school, I had to start back with the bouncing ball while I was working full time at a AAA game dev studio. Right? Like, trust me, if the professionals do it, we can too.
Yeah,
Jesse,
it's nothing embarrassing about it. It's awesome.
No, not at all. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what accreditation means?
So accreditation is something that we worked really hard to get, and we're actually accredited by the ACCSC, which is recognized by the Department of Education. And just what it means is that there's a lot of art schools, right? Like that are honestly just fraudulent. They're just trying to get your money. So why we signed up for ACCSC accreditation, it was this very rigorous process that shows that we are doing what we say, that we're preparing people for a career. We actually get audited every year based on our employment rates. So we have to have to stay accredited, we need to have a certain amount of percentages of students who enter the workforce in this area within 6 months of graduating. And we're at like 86% placement in the industry after graduation currently, which is awesome. And so that's one of the reasons why we take grading so seriously, is we have very strict kind of grading guidelines. I know, like Tony talked about how he didn't care about grades. I know you do care about grades. We don't want to have you go to like class 5 or class 3 before you're ready, because it would just kind of be a waste of your money. And sometimes it's hard because we are used to like a regular school, right? Like we went through the regular education system, and it's like, well, I gotta repeat 3rd grade. That's not how this is. There's kind of like a bar that you have to get over professionally before you can move on to the next thing. Otherwise, you're just gonna get roasted in the next thing. So it's okay to, like, some people retake a class twice. Some people get through the first time. It's normal, actually. So this is a very specific type of school that it isn't one where you take a bunch of classes at the same time. People say, why can't I take, class 4 and class 5 at the same time? We're used to being like in a college setting where, oh, I'm going to take biology, I'm going to do this. That's not how this class is. One class in some of these later classes is almost like a part-time or full-time job.
It's a full-time job in the later
full-time. I should say full-time job, right? It isn't something that you do on the side. This is for serious people. It is.
Yeah. So we have some questions here. I'm on the actual YouTube.
Yeah.
It says, I'm currently a second-year student studying computer graphics and animation in Lebanon, and hopefully I'm really torn between AnimSchool and Animation Mentor. Which one is better? Easiest way to answer that question, go look at the reel.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you need to know. Go look at the reel of the quality of animation that's being produced between the two and form your own opinion.
Yep.
So
something very, very cool we offer at AnimSchool as well, if you're looking here, is at a certain point, we kind of split off in the animation emphasis, not animation, but we kind of switched from the animation program courses to a game animation emphasis. So what that means is those who are maybe more interested in like TV or cinematic type animation go this route. But if you're wanting to get into games after you have those prerequisites done after class 4, you can choose to either go this way or jump into the game animation emphasis. And so that's just kind of up to you. It's, again, what journey you want to do. And then in the 3D character program, there's kind of 2 paths there as well, where you might be more interested in character modeling or environmental modeling, and then you kind of go the modeling track. And if you're interested in rigging, which is kind of, if you're interested in what rigging is, it's kind of that bridge between the technical and animation. You're the one who actually helps set the characters up to be able to move, to have emotions, having those awesome blend shapes in the mouth. I remember, Tony, you were talking about this new, I guess, proprietary thing about in more realistic characters about how, get the face to move. This is where you're learning about how to make faces, make those expressions from a model that you could have made. So it's super, super cool. And one last very cool benefit that we'd already talked about is the general reviews. The other thing that you get when you go to AnimSchool is free art classes, and that's why I'm here. I actually teach some of the free art classes. We want people who graduate from AnimSchool not just be animators and modelers, but we want them to think like artists. We want you to understand, to be able to curate, to think like artists. And so we offer free art classes every term. We bring in professionals every term to teach a special class. So you get additional classes with your regular class. I'm just going to show you really quick kind of something that I teach in my class. So I'm teaching, I teach Photoshop, and I teach intro, basically fundamental digital painting class. And so let me show you that real quick. Let me stop that screen and present a new one. Let's see here. I had it up just a minute ago. Where is this one? Okay. Entire screen. Okay. So here's an example from my class, and this is actually whether you're an animator or whether you're a 3D modeler or rigger, the stuff that I teach in the digital painting fundamentals class is actually kind of more like a traditional class. And this is kind of like the scales of art, and why this is good for an animator or a 3D modeler is learning how to see positive and negative shapes. So a lot of times when we're looking at a shot or a scene, it's very complicated. We get really bogged down by the details. So here's the master study. This is what we'll have our students do, is they'll pick a master painting. We actually have them pick a painting that's actually quite complicated, even if they've never painted before. And we show how to break down major negative and positive shapes. And what's great is when you have to do this, you're learning about what the eye is actually looking at. So we learn about focal point, we learn about composition. And as you go through, we break it down almost like you're building a house, all the way down to this up here was the reference image. And by the end of 10 weeks, this is the final digitally painted by hand picture, not traced, just breaking it down into its parts. So I'm teaching this class next term. You get that for free with your tuition. So definitely would love to see you if you're able to make it to AnimSchool. Again, head over to animschool.edu. And super grateful for you guys. I always learn so much from both of you. I admire both of you so much. Like, seeing you guys go through those reels is just phenomenal. Do you have any kind of like final words of advice for anyone, Tony or Manuel? Because I know like we're in such an interesting time in the animation industry. And I love to hear like the positivity that there still is, because I know people are like, oh, doom and gloom all the time. Like, have you seen shifts and things in your careers that maybe help guide kind of what's going on right now?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it's just a transition phase. Like, nothing is, AI is just gonna like be a tool to like help with like minor tasks, but that's what Tony said before. The art is still there, and the animator is gonna be the one making the decisions and like doing all the work. Anyways, it's just gonna like make it maybe a tiny bit faster, but I mean, there is no freaking way that they can, it can address notes or all feedback, because like we get constant feedback every single like hour, basically. That's never gonna happen. It's gonna help with some like mundane like tasks, and that's it. But like, it's what we said. I mean, right now, the problem with the industry right now is just the overspending in budget, right? Like, and they just expect to make a ton of money every single project they do. So like, that's the problem. They just spend, and they want to just get it back. It's not gonna happen. They just waste too much money. So now what's happening is this: like, they just need to change, the way they're doing things. I mean, it's gonna come back. This industry, like, is everything. Video games, movies. I mean, that's never gonna go away. Never.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's being at one of the big like five at Universal and seeing the hundreds of millions they're investing into AI. I can tell you right now, it's gonna have a very, very, very unique place in the artistic pipeline, but not where people thinks it is. And every single day we're finding more and more and more. We're like, cool, that's awesome, but also we need to hire 5 more artists to undo what it just did. Because there's no heart, there's no soul, there's no, so I think we're gonna find ways to use it to kind of optimize. But yeah, I mean, it's just, like, I see some more questions in here that are a little bit more like, what is your approach when you animate an acting shot with the character walks through the dialogue? Yeah, lots of different approaches. And depending on what the shot is, a lot of the times I will guide students through to be like, all right, well, let's talk about this. Let's come up with how we're going to do this together. There's no one rule, right? To actually do this. Same thing with like any advice on improving arcs. Yeah, go to AnimSchool. We talk about a lot arcs. Again, it depends on the context. It depends on where things are, in your shot. But there's a lot of stuff about arcs. A lot of shot, talks about walking and talking and different ways to approach that. Because really, the biggest piece of advice I would give, everyone is, and I realized this like 5 or 6 years into my career, nobody can learn how to animate. That's impossible. It's impossible. Nobody's an expert at animation. Okay. When you get a shot, it's the first time something like that is ever being animated ever. ever, right? Unless obviously you're copying off of something else, which, you know, we don't do. So you need to learn how to animate that shot, right? You're handed a shot and you can say, oh, I've done something like this before, or I've done acting maybe like this before, or I've done a body mechanic shot, you know, like that before. But you can't get assigned a shot and go in front of a video and say, this is exactly what I'm going to do, and these are where the keys are going to be, and this is how I'm going to execute it. And then, and you know, at the end of it, be like, oh wow, that's exactly how that happened, right? You learn how to animate, right? That's the best animators in the world, are the ones that learn every single shot how to do it, because it's never been done before, right? You can't go on YouTube and say animation tutorial for how to animate character old man with this dialogue clip, and then have a 1 to 10 step, you know, process of how to animate that. That's impossible, right? So when we approach shots, every student might have a different way of, you know, doing it. You know, we do blocking, we do, you know, some students I keep in blocking or splocking almost into the end. Some students I say, let's get this in the spline almost immediately, right? It is, you know, I curate the shots based on the student's ability, what they're good at, what they need to improve on, what they need practice on. But a lot of the times my students are at different spots of their shots totally differently, right? By the time that they get to my class, which is fine, because every animator animates differently, you know, like totally differently. I've opened up shots from other animators and I'm just like, and I'll just delete everything. And I'm like, I can't handle this. And I've had other animators open up my shots and they're like, what are you thinking, you moron? Why would you do that? Why would you do this in IK? I'm like, makes sense to me. You know, it's what makes sense to you. So one of the things that we do in the school is we work with the students and give them those exact pieces of advice on how to handle their shot per student basis. So cool.
Phenomenal. Thank you guys so much. We're hoping to do more of these kind of reviews. Tony, Manuel, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And we invite everyone to go check out AnimSchool. I think the best thing you said, Tony, was just, if anyone's looking to go anywhere, this is just a really great statement. It's just look at the work that's coming out of school. I think that's the best way to determine anything. So
cool.
Thanks. All right.
All right. Cool. Bye, everybody.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, Manuel. How do you feel like that went?
I think awesome. I couldn't see anybody, but yeah, I think good.
Yeah. Well, Manuel, like, bill it to AnimSchool. Bill it to AnimSchool.
Is he gonna pay us?
Yeah, you have to ask. Yeah.
What do you mean? Wait, we need to ask, Jesse?
I think so. I don't know. I think when that thing comes for hours every month, you just put your hours, you know?
So we put 2 more hours, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Perfect.
I mean, I don't, but you do. I don't get paid any extra, but you do.
Well, I don't think I get paid per hour, though, but he wants to keep me on W2, though, so I don't know how it does work.
I don't know how it works. So, yeah, you guys, I guess you'll have to work it out with Dave, how it works. But,
Perfection. Perfection.
Yeah.
Awesome, bro.
Thanks, man. Hopefully I did okay. I don't know. You guys are amazing. I hope I did okay hosting, but thanks so much, man.
I think it was awesome. Like, how many students were there? Because I couldn't see the number.
Yeah.
How many watchers?